Hi, I'm Joe Justice, the team lead of Team WIKISPEED. I'm in Bangalore, India right now for a conference, Agile 2013 in Bangalore, India, starting next week. And Monday I get to talk to Wikimedia Foundation out here. You can hear all of India in the background. It's not even rush hour. It sounds like this where I am all the time, from 5 a.m. till past midnight. But hopefully you can hear me. So I've got a set of email questions from Christopher Gong at Deloitte Center for the Edge. Christopher writes, what is the enthusiasm multiplier and how do you harness its awesome to facilitate learning? Like any Scrum team, we prioritize what we'll do next according to its business value. For us, awesomeness is one of the highest business values. If we do something awesome, it builds velocity, and awesome stuff from our point of view usually makes the world a better place, which directly delivers on our mission statement of rapidly solving problems for social good. We've noticed that each time we have a success and team members think the success is awesome, we go faster. That is to say, our velocity, or the number of points and tasks we complete per week that meets our quality metric, consistently goes up when the team reports that it's more excited, that we've done more awesome. So we focus on doing small bits that we can achieve quickly and being public about it each time we have success. Folks are more likely to volunteer themselves, not just show up, and be passionate when they believe their work is making the world a better place and they're performing at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. So when they think they're actually changing the world in their communities, so the tasks that they're taking on aren't just to make a shareholder rich, they're actually to do something that they believe is worth doing. Work worth doing is the concept there. They then apply themselves more passionately, and passionate people seem to learn more deeply more quickly. In Team WIKISPEED, the evidence for that is the rate at which new projects are completed that have never had solutions for historically, like an 100-mile-per-gallon car in 3 months, which never existed before, or that we have the lightest chassis in the world to reach a 5-star crash rating equivalency. So we have evidence that we're able to solve tricky problems really quickly, and we think it's related to the fact that the team is really jazzed, and that happens by prioritizing awesome. Then, how do you facilitate learning within a WIKISPEED team? Christopher Gong asks. And I've typed a response, I'll use it to guide. We explicitly encourage quick, cheap tests all the time. So we run them all constantly. This is part of test-driven development that the software world's been using forever, where they author a test before they design a solution. So different than just testing, it's that the test is done before you even know how you're going to solve the problem. This enables real options theory, where you delay commitment until the last responsible moment. Now it's different than just delaying commitment. It's looking at when it's going to become much more expensive if you wait till past that point in terms of time or money or complexity or weight or whatever, but it's going to, the cost is going to increase in one of the ways you care about if you don't make the decision past a certain date or past a certain time when other decisions are being made. And you intentionally don't make a decision until then. So you don't allow additional expense to be heaped on. You make the decision before that, but you never make the decision too early because you've learned more. So you make the decision when you know the most. This lets you make decisions at the point when you've done the most learning. And that helps facilitate learning because people aren't boxed in any earlier than they have to be. We encourage all our work to be done in pairs or groups, so knowledge is shared across the teams as a matter of course. We do this through pairing and swarming, as explained in Kent Beck's books on extreme programming. And that goes back to the apprenticeship model in the Middle Ages, but we don't have a lot of the extra complexity the apprenticeship model had. We do just the elemental, extremely simple and quick practices of pairing and swarming as XP, or extreme programming, defines them. How do you facilitate learning and coordinate among WIKISPEED teams? We use Scrum rooms. A Scrum room is the idea where you have a room big enough for everybody that's working in a local space, like a given office, with no walls in between anyone, where everyone is within eyesight and earshot of everyone else. Now, it's a hectic, din-filled place, kind of like the background setting you hear right here. what it means is there's peripheral learning happening constantly. A pair or a group might be focused on a particular task, but they'll be getting some information from all around them all the time. The rate of learning, the drinking from a fire hose concept, is much, much higher. Now you might say, but aren't people being distracted constantly? We find they get used to it. At first, yeah. At first many people say this is just too much for me, and they'll wear headphones or something so they have a sound that they're used to, and they'll just take it off to talk to their pair. But that usually goes away in about 40 hours of working in this setting. And people have the ability to tune in or tune out. Just like the honking and traffic noises behind me, I don't hear them unless I think about them anymore, and I've only been sitting out here in this park about 8 hours. Let's see, what else did I say we should talk about? Oh, all the tools are visible at a glance in a Scrum room, so everybody knows the range of what they have to work with, and that helps facilitate learning because as soon as they have an idea, they can be creating a prototype of it. It's removing any time between having an idea and a working product of it, and that facilitates learning. Also, you have people doing different types of work, but through our product backlog, we put similar topical work that has a similar business priority or awesome level at the same time. So if we have a team doing an experiment on a new type of composites cure or a new type of composite release agent, we'll do that at the same time. We're laying up a new carbon fiber interior using composites process, and that we're what would be another good example of a composite process? And maybe we're making our new rear view mirror molds and repairing one of our other composite bodies. That means folks are going deep in composites in different areas, and when they all give a demo at the end, the whole team gets more knowledgeable about composites in general, and that's kind of a theme for that week-long sprint. So we try to prioritize complementary work to happen at the same time. Now, we work as a distributed team. We're in 20 countries as of now. So we can't always have everybody in the same Scrum room. If people are local, we put them in we encourage them to be in the same Scrum room. We make it available, and typically they like it. But when you're all over the world, what do you do? Well, we use YouTube as a virtual Scrum room. We upload our demos each week, so anywhere in the world people can see, they can be within eyesight or earshot of each other virtually, and see what each other have been working on. And we prioritize demonstrating what's worked, because we find talking about something or solving something, we don't learn nearly as fast as doing something, even if that doing failed. So we only film demos of working prototype parts and working prototype projects, and not theory or plans, because we found very little value in that statistically over time, over the course of the project. So the way we demo through YouTube helps formalize propagating the learning that's working. We do also film how-to videos, but we try to keep those under 3 minutes long to just answer people's quick questions when they go to our YouTube channel, and they're usually building their own WIKISPEED car or cloning one of the modules for their WIKISPEED project so that they can get to work on the module they care about at that time. Then we allow people to pick from the backlog. They're exposed to the backlog. They can see it and see what's relevant priority, but we encourage people to pick whatever on the backlog closest to the top where the highest priority items are that they're excited about or they've done before. Because if they've done it before, they're going to go fast, and that's going to create a quick win, and that'll increase velocity for the whole team. And if they're passionate about it, they're going to be volunteering themselves, not just showing up. And they'll likely create a more exciting solution, a more meaningful solution, usually a more innovative solution, and that increases velocity, and that all compounds. So by letting people volunteer themselves and work on what they're excited about, but being informed by the relative priorities so they know what the product owner cares about, we find high velocity that way. We cover the walls in our Scrum rooms with visualizations that help reduce the time from someone having an idea to a working prototype. So we'll have visualizations on how to use certain tools for rapid prototyping, or what gauge wire carries what current at what amperage at what wattage, at what voltage. So people don't have to think about those mundane things and can just get right to making a prototype. So we coat the walls with those. In the virtual Scrum room, we paste that stuff on Facebook, and we broadcast it on Twitter, and we have it available on YouTube, and we have a Google group. And the Google group is really our virtual Scrum room. Everyone talks about everything there, all over the world, and everybody sees it. Now, there's more conversation than most people could keep up with in a day, because that's happening in almost every time zone. So what we ask is that people just skim the subject lines of the messages floating through. And so already they're building up peripheral information. Oh, the team in Mier, France has integrated the prototype Android dashboard with a sensor set that's talking to our engine. They might not be on that project, they might not be passionate about that project, but they're aware of it and they know that pace of learning is increasing, which gets them more excited too. When people see something working in a pace happening quickly, they get jazzed. Then we ask them just to read the email threads that they're particularly excited about or they're working on now. That way it keeps the time manageable, because most team members only work with us about 2 hours a week, and we don't want them to spend those whole 2 hours just reading email. So they can skim and see the parts that are relevant to them, but by seeing all the subject lines float by, that's the Scrum Room concept, where they're all in periphery learning from each other and getting a sense of the actual culture of the project, not just the little piece they're in. And that seems to keep people engaged and build learning. Let's see. Oh, we limit our work in progress, so that instead of having 20 long tail projects happening at once and there's a lull in between where a lot of folks might drop off, something is getting completed at almost any given time because there's a lot of velocity towards it. So we don't work on very many projects at once, so they're getting done quickly, which keeps the pace of learning high, the piece of knowledge being shared high, and the demos regularly coming out. So we have demos every week. And we ask people, if the project you're on won't have a meaningful demo within a week, consider splitting the project into smaller projects. And so that leads to modularity in the hardware design patterns we use. Christopher Gong writes, how do you facilitate learning between WIKISPEED and other organizations? Transparency and trust. When something goes right or something goes wrong, we post it publicly. And we try to post as much information as will help people understand or learn from what went right or went wrong, whether they're in Team WIKISPEED or outside Team WIKISPEED. That transparency, that posting failures as well as successes, seems to attract other businesses and organizations, because they feel there's actually valid learning here happened, not scrubbed learning. And then they are more likely, it sure looks like, to trust us in turn and share information that really helps propel us. So that builds more meaningful relationships with people we've never even met before. In Agile, it's a tool called a retrospective, which is one of the ceremonies from Scrum. There's only 3 ceremonies to run a Scrum team. It's very simple. One of them is the retrospective, which comes right after the demo, and together they make the sprint closing ceremony. And that retrospective, we all ask ourselves, in Team WIKISPEED we do this once a week, what went well, what didn't go well, and what's getting in our way from being even more awesome and having higher velocity. And we answer those questions publicly. We do it on freeconferencecall.com, and it's an open dial-in, and we post YouTube videos of this stuff all the time. So folks from other organizations are able to see that, and if there's something being discussed that they're feeling they're learning from, a lot of the time that seems to be what's triggered some of our most critical partnerships, or our most beneficial partnerships with universities, other businesses, other teams all over the world, which builds our velocity and lets us do more awesome. So our mission statement is rapidly solving problems for social good. And that has driven us to choose a specific set of methods to get stuff done quickly and at really low cost. Because when we're talking about doing stuff that makes the world a better place, we really care about doing it fast and cheap and now. And in having a working prototype that gives us some of the value in 1 week, instead of a long tail plan where the world will become a better place in 3 or 7 years. We want it better like next week or now. And I'm glad I got to talk a little bit about those processes. Christopher, it looks like your question centered on learning in particular, and I hope I touched on some of that. Send me an email at info@wikispeed.com if that triggers another conversation, or if I missed the boat on what you're asking about.